Hello everyone, to my channel. Today we're doing a reading for sign of Leo, and keep in mind that this does not resonate for every Leo. If you like a personal reading, it's going to be the first link in the description down below. Repeat that. First link in the description down below for a personal reading. I'll also find a bunch of other things there in the description. You can find my Etsy shop, which has my tarot and my oracle cards on there. A bunch of things there on my Etsy shop in the description down below. Just have to go check that out. Go and go buy something. Really appreciate that. I also find my shirt store, my website, different social media platforms I'm on, as well as Patreon. All that's in the description down below. If you'd like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so. I do appreciate donations here. So Leo, let's see what Spirit has in store for yourself. And oh my god, it is so hot today. I'm so glad this last reading I'm doing because it's so hot in my room. And you guys just don't realize it. I have 2 fans going, and it's still just hot and humid. Alright. We have number 1 with Sokar. Number 3 with Mehert. Number 8 with Anner and Rick. And for your last card, we get number 1 with Geb. Alright. Leo, so let's have a look at your cards here, because I don't think I've seen a couple of these. Alright, guitar, meth. Okay, meth is the first one, the cow. Number 3. Throughout the dynasties of ancient Egypt, the cow, maybe it's mighty fullness, the cow was regarded as a sacred animal and identified with the 3 goddesses in particular, Het-Hert, Mehert, and Nut. The cow was a symbol of fertility and nourishment, power, excellence, and under the name of Mehert, represented the abundant and continuous source of matter available for impregnation. In earliest times, she was a female personification of the watery mass that formed the substance of the world. As with all Set, Het-Hert, and Nut, she is a form of the primeval creative principle, and when she is shown in human form, she takes the image of a pregnant woman with full breast, ready to give milk, sometimes with a lotus flower twined around her scepter, the lotus from which the sun rose from the first time. She wears the menet of love and pleasure around her neck. It says, in this card, she appears as a great celestial cow, covered in stars, whose home is in the sky. In the rites of Osir, the god's body was laid in a wooden box in the form of a cow, so he would be reborn from the womb of the celestial cow. So a similar cow amulet and petition is placed under the head of the deceased. The duet Mehert was also linked with Met. The judgment of the dead in primitive times took place in the hall of Mehert. And it is said that in those most ancient times it was the body, not the soul, that was judged by the Naturuv. As the goddesses gave birth to all living things, so she presided over the judgment of the person's deeds after death, and she could renew the body and restore life through her magical powers. She was also linked with Thoth. With the 7 forms of Het-Hert, there were 7 wise ones in Mehert, who, together with Thoth, planned the world. These 7 wise ones were born from Mehert, and coming from the primordial water, they took form of the 7 hawks and flew upwards into the sky. Together with Thoth, they were concerned with writing, learning, and studying the sacred sciences. It says, unlimited possibilities, a timing for seeding plans. All possibilities are potential but not yet realized. Alright, look at this. So, connecting with these gods and goddesses here. Alright, this one is like, possibilities are endless. Alright, Leo, it's a time for planning for plans. Like, planning and like growing, like putting the seeds. You know what I'm saying? Seeds that will be growing here. It's be in terms of creative projects, you know. It can also be in terms of like fertility there. that sort of things, because that's what we were talking about as well. Anyways, possibilities are endless. That's what it's saying to you. It says Geb is the netter of the earth. He is the planet Earth, and in this there is a reversal in that many other traditions the earth is considered female. The surface of the planet and the earth beneath are the flesh of Geb, and all the trees and plants and vegetation are a part of him, bearing food for his descendants and the human race. The name Geb is derived from the name of a goose, the bird with which he is always associated with. This netter is usually shown as a human wearing the white crown of the south, and is often accompanied by a goose, for this bird plays a special role in the story of the Earth's formation. In the form of a goose, Geb went into the primeval hills, from the formless chaos, and standing there alone, he laid an egg. From this egg, the sun emerged. The power of Ra, the Sirian energy, was born through Ra, as though the sun were a child of the earth. The 4 geese in this card refer to the number of the earth in materialization. In many illustrations, Geb is shown being torn from his embrace with Nut, the goddess of space, by Shu, the air. As Geb falls from the starry body of Nut, he rolls into a ball, which becomes the planet Earth. In their myths and symbols, the ancient Egyptians described this formation of the solar system as a transmission of stellar energies that manifested as the earth, the sky, the sun. The principles behind the elements are personified, like Shu in autumn. Before him, Geb becomes the father of the gods, the sacred fire of life, the creative energy which, streaming through autumn, divides into 2 aspects in Shu and Tefnut, and becomes incorporated into the earth as Geb. The worship of Geb is pre-dynastic, and he was worshipped as a tribal chief of the company of the gods at Heliopolis, where the work of creation began. It was through Geb's union with Nut that Aset, Nebt, Het, Heru, and Seth were brought into being to complete the family of the sun. After Geb's separation from Nut, he was forced to live independently of her, as the earth solidified in space. But he's always reaching up to the sky, his erect phallus perpetually seeking his lover. This phallic symbolism, common to the Egyptians and to all ancient colors, represented not only by the power of procreation, but also transmission and reception of far more subtle energies. In Geb's case, attracting and absorbing the stellar energies from the body of Nut. Egyptian obelisks were precise tools for this transmission and reception of cosmic energies, constructed in phallic form and often crowned by the solar disk. Geb represents the total devotion to Nut. Separated from her, he is like the Chinese royal goose, a symbol of fidelity, of which it was believed that if its mate dies, the goose remains alone rather than finds another. The egg that Geb lays in the primordial hills is an interesting symbol that recurs through all the myths of creation. The shell of the egg is likened to the earth's crust, the element that protects the germinating life, while inside is the ferment where the fire of life quickens, multiplying rapidly to create new form. Geb is colored green, which represents not only the color of the earth's vegetation, but also the grayish green that appears in decomposition and mold. The old egg that has to die, like the sun each day, and be born again in new form of life, a greater birth is preceded by a greater death. The souls of the dead beg Geb to open their jaws and their eyes, to loosen their legs, which are bound together. They seek their spiritual release from the body of matter, from the earth. It says they identify the egg about to crack open to release the new sun in the energy of Sirius. The sun god is born from the egg and in the form of the Bennu bird, the original phoenix, being the soul of Ra in its continuously changing phases. This freedom of spirit is expressed vividly by Nut. The doors of heaven are open for me, the doors of earth are open for me, the bars and bolts of Geb are open for me. The pharaoh received his power of rulership from Geb, transmitted through Asur and then Heru. So Heru is seen as a renewed form of Geb, and Geb's throne was given to Heru to rule, for Aset animates the creatures and vegetations on earth, providing for all, as Geb provides for the souls in the Dua, giving them food and guidance and protecting their journey. The Geb's role as a watchdog is an ancient one. It says loyalty, materialization of one's plans, nourishment, and connection with the earth's energy. Okay? Look at that. Materialization of one's plants. Your plants here are materializing here. Okay? They are growing. What you put out there is growing. Alright, this could be many different forms. Here could be that of, like I said, there's that of fertility, there's that of like new projects. You already know what it is, Leo. It could be something spiritual. Number 8. This is the Philosopher's Stone. The Hermetic science of alchemy has its origins in Egypt. The word alchemy itself is derived from the Arabic al-Kemet, being a name for ancient Egypt that means black earth. The goal of the great work of the alchemist is the production of the Philosopher's Stones, mysterious substance that can transmute base metals into gold, and the ultimate stone of perfection that holds the key to immortality. The sacred science of alchemy was the highest knowledge of the Egyptian priesthood, hidden from the outer religion as medieval alchemists concealed the real nature of the experience from the profane. For alchemy, despite popular belief, was not only concerned with the production of precious metals, it was and is a profound science penetrating the deeper secrets of nature, life, and death in the beginnings of existence. Since the process of transmutation, as understood by the alchemists, was concerned with both material and spiritual transmutation of elements. The appearance of gold was to alchemists the appearance of the sun itself, a symbol of the ultimate state of perfection that could be attained from the base metals. Of the stone, the master alchemist includes these descriptions. It's a stone of great virtue, and is called a stone, but is not a stone, and is mineral, vegetable, and animal, which is found in every place, at every time, and with every person. There's an occult stone concealed and buried in the depths of a fountain, which is vile, abject, and valued not at all. It's also covered with filth and excrement, to which all names are given, although there's only really one. This stone says Morion the Wise, which is not a stone, it is animated, having the virtue of procreating and engendering. It says the great work of alchemy is divided into 3 phases, the 3 degrees of perfection. The first phase is black, which involves finding the raw materials, base ores, from which the first agent is prepared. This first agent, or material apartment, is enclosed in the hermetically sealed philosophic egg. So once again, we're talking about that egg. Leo, something is hatching. And incubated in the ether for a long period of time. Within the egg, the hot solar male principle known as sulfur interacts with the lunar cold female principle known as mercury. This results in petrification and decay, the black phase of death, which finally brings forth the metallic volatile humidity, which is the mercury of the wise. This mercury, while still in the egg, receives the celestial influences, and eventually the moist substance is purified and sublimated. It coagulates and dries, creating beautiful colors, and then the second phase is completed with the appearance of white mercury, fixed in incombustible sulfur. The third phase is the alchemical marriage. These 3 phases, black, white, and red, are consistently expressed in Egyptian symbolism. From the black land itself, through the white crown of the south, and to the red crown of the north, and then again in the imagery of Khepri-Ra. There find a symbol of transmutation from the black ball of dung. The white larva appears eventually to transform into a newborn red and white scarab beetle. In this card is shown the queen from whose the womb of the sulfur of the wise emerges. Like Aset, she is seated on a throne signifying her rulership over the earth. In her right hand she holds the second scepter, symbol of authority and power. In the open palm of her left hand lies the Philosopher's Stone, the ultimate substance of material and spiritual transmutation, the elixir of the gods. It says enlightenment, distillation of experience, success in transmutation, whether of spiritual or material nature. After long and arduous discipline, the goal is accomplished and the work is perfected, the magical body of light. Alright, Leo. It says to silence. As very ancient Neter, Sokher, personified the power of darkness and of night, and his territory lay in the darkest part of the Duat. He was the great god who came into being in the beginning, he who resteth upon the darkness. Here he is shown in mummified form with the hawk head, laying on a funeral bearer. Above him hovers the Ka, his double, and the goddess Aset, a Nebhet, also in hawk form, who stand on either side of the entrance into his dark realm. Sokar is every god in mummified form. It represents unchangeability, something that can be looked upon as a reference point. For this reason, Sokar was also the god of cemetery and of orientation. In earlier dynastic times, there were many sanctuaries of Sokar in Lower Egypt, and he was in particular a god of Necropolis of Saqqara. One of the great festivals of ancient Egypt was the sacred ceremony of the Sokar boat, which has been described as a form of a boat in which Ra enters the Duat. This boat carried the body of the dead sun god, and on the day of the festival, the boat, called Henu, was lifted onto its sledge at sunrise and drawn in procession around the sanctuary. In the Duat, Sokar rules over the two regions where Ra passes during the 4th and 5th hours of the night, this being a dark and gloomy landscape filled with monsters waiting to devour the souls of the dead, who have not armed themselves with the words and amulets of power. Here, Sokar is hidden and invisible and guarded by a snake, with a human head at each end of his body. Here, the dead sun god Asur is merged with Sokar, and its thick darkness is the hidden circle of Sokar, where the secret pathways and doors of Amenta are concealed, and where this nether is hidden in his primeval form. If the traveler through the Duat can please Sokar with his offerings, and has learned the secret way through his domain, he passes in peace and is not destroyed. In this darkest time, seeds of new life is buried in the sand of Sokar. It is in respect that Sokar is identified with Ptah, who is also in the form of a mummified god. Ptah Sokar unites the primeval creative power within the inert powers of darkness, and joined together with Asur, he becomes the true god of resurrection. It says darkness, inertia, a time of testing. Yet the seed of a new cycle has been planted. You see that? Seed of a new cycle. We keep talking about that, Leo. New seed has been planting. It's growing. Alright? I'm connecting with these deities here as well. I feel like you've already passed the test here, but still working with them to continue growing what you've been working on here. Alright. So, it's a long reading. So let's get some runes and charms for yourself. There's two dragon lovers, one being water, one being fire. We have Hathor, this Egyptian snake goddess. We have this moon beetle, which connects with the moon, the stars, the night, and the beetle. We have spiritual initiation going through. There's communication, there's movement, there's journey. This is all happening in the self, Leo. It's all happening in the self spiritually. We're going through a journey here. So, that's all I have for you. Like I said, first link in the description down below for personal reading. Also go to my Etsy shop, go in there, go buy something. Really appreciate that. And if you want to see more content, don't forget to subscribe. Bye guys.